Dear Abby, we've never met before, so this may seem a bit odd, but I feel this is necessary. My name is Jay for starters, and I work the checkout line at the grocery up on 67th Street. You know, the one with the parking lot that's way too big for the store itself? Yeah, that one. I'm 24, fairly tall and rather scraggly in appearance. You probably wouldn't recognize me if I came up to talk to you. I don't have a memorable face. I don't really know why I'm telling you all of this, to be honest. But this isn't the point of me writing you. I was working late at night yesterday. It was a very average day for the most part. Nothing too exciting happened, but you'd be surprised how interesting the shop can get at times. I'd been reading some book the guy that worked the counter before me had left. It was some really crappy murder mystery chock full of cliches. Incredibly boring, if you ask me. But it was something to do, I guess. When you showed up, though, my whole night changed. I don't know exactly what it was about you that caught my attention at first, but as soon as I saw you, I got this odd feeling. A weird mix between excitement and terror. That's the best way that I can describe it, at least. I saw you walk into my line, and I quickly composed myself. I'd been slouching down in my chair for a while, since I rarely ever get anyone in my line. It was only when you got closer that I realized what about you had caught my attention. You were absolutely beautiful. You walked up and said, "Hey," and handed me your card. I could tell by the way that you were talking and the way that you looked that you had been sleep deprived. Though this wasn't surprising considering how late it was. After a second or two of awkward silence, I realized that you'd greeted me, and I suddenly forced out a hi in response. I cursed myself out mentally for that one. I sat there for a second, trying to focus. "What's your name?" I said. It's only later that I realized how odd this must have seemed. What kind of grocery bag guy asks what someone's name is? I'm glad I did, though. I remember you said you were named Abigail, but that you go by Abby for short. Abby. It seemed to fit so perfectly. The name seemed to roll off my tongue as I said it back to myself silently. It was like sweet honey. Just felt so good to say it. You seemed to be perplexed when I looked back at you, and I wondered if I'd done something to upset you. "Shouldn't you be packing those?" you said and pointed to the groceries. Suddenly shocked and embarrassed, I looked up and apologized, then clumsily started shoving groceries into bags as fast as I could. I couldn't believe myself. How stupid could I be? But when I looked up, I realized that you were laughing. "You're kind of cute," you said. I tried to play it off cool, but I was obviously thrilled. A girl like this thought I was cute? "You are too," I said as I hastily packed the rest of the groceries. As you walked out, you turned around as you reached for the door and said, "Have a good night." I'm guessing I looked pretty stupid writing all this down. You probably still remember it. I mean, it did just happen yesterday. But I went home ecstatic that night, and with all the confidence in the world. I feel like it's almost unreal writing it back here. Anyways, I wanted to write you this letter, Abby, to tell you that I love you. I don't know what it was I felt that night. It was some sort of weird mix of emotions. But all I know was that even in that small transaction we had, I felt as if there was something between us. Please write me back soon. Sincerely, Jay. Dear Abby, it's been a week since I sent my last letter and I still haven't gotten a response. But that doesn't matter. How have you been? My life's been just normal as usual. Get up, go to work, go to bed. I live in a really shitty apartment, but I guess that's what you get when you work as a grocery bagger. I've thought about you a lot lately, and I sometimes wonder if you still remember me. I saw you again at work today. This time it was at a much more reasonable hour, thankfully. I didn't want to bother you to see if you'd approach me on your own. You came to my line again, which made me absolutely thrilled. This time I was less nervous. I was going to act normal no matter what you did or said. I wasn't going to let a girl like you slip through my fingers. As he walked up, he muttered something that was too quiet for me to make out, and waited at the end of the counter for me to finish packing your groceries. This obviously wasn't what I had expected, but it wasn't all too bad. He didn't seem to feel anything at all, actually. I was expecting you to either come up to talk to me or avoid me like the plague, but instead you just walked on through as if I was another stranger. This makes me wonder if you got my last letter. You should check your mailbox more often. There was one moment where I felt something, though. I looked over briefly to see what you were doing, and at the same time you seemed to look up at me to see how far along I was. Right then, our eyes locked. Only for a second or two, but in those 2 seconds, I saw so much more in you than I had seen last time. It felt as if I had known you for years, like I knew all your intricate feelings and emotions. Did you feel anything like that with me? Shortly after I had finished packing your bags, you paid and walked out. Obviously, this was a pretty normal process for me, considering I do it about 50 times every day. But I had been determined since the night that I wrote you that letter that the next time I saw you, I was going to get more out of it. I kind of screwed that one up. I wasn't satisfied with it. I had to have more. There's a little room in the very back left corner of the grocery store designated for staff. In there, though, I knew they kept the security footage from the day. All staff are informed of this and the security camera's locations when they're hired. Luckily for me, there's one positioned right next to my counter. I waited until the store closed up and everybody left, and then I went in. After flipping through a few of the TV screens, I found the one that was connected to the camera by my counter. I rewinded it until about when I remember you'd coming in. After a few minutes of scanning, I'd found it. There you were. I paused on the best still shot that I could find. I knew the camera wouldn't do you justice, but it was the best that I could have for now. Having a longer look at you, I realized how truly perfect you were. Every feature of your body, your hair, your face, your legs, your chest, was just perfection. I rewinded the tape to when you'd first come into my line a few times. I couldn't help myself. My eyes were glued to the screen. After a few minutes of consideration, I popped out the tape and shoved it in my pocket, and then drove home. I knew I wasn't allowed to. I could very well be fired for taking such actions, but I couldn't help myself. I had to have you with me at all times, even if it means losing my job. Abby, I love you. I love everything about you. I think about you constantly now. Do you feel the same way about me, Abby? I just want us to be together. Forever. Right back soon. Yours truly, Jay. Dear Abby, it's been 3 days and I still haven't gotten a reply. Why don't you want to talk to me? I'm still unsure if you got my last 2 letters. Please tell me you have. So I got fired from my job. They found the missing tape. I got a call from the store owner, my boss, at 6 a.m. on Monday and was told to come in immediately. They were having a mandatory all-staff meeting. When I got there, all of the staff was gathered around a small table with the owner at the head of it. Once everyone had arrived, he told us that apparently there was a minor robbery yesterday. They'd had stolen about $200 worth of stuff. And the one tape that would have shown who the culprit was the one that I had taken. Just my luck. He told us that no one was going to leave the room until someone confessed. After a few minutes, I finally gave in. I told him everything. About how I felt as if me and you had had some kind of connection. After explaining the whole story, the entire room was staring wide-eyed at me. After I finished, I sat there in silence for several seconds. Suddenly, the store owner broke the tension. Jay, you're fired. Get out of here now and don't come back, he said. I did as I was told and got out of there as fast as I could. That stupid prick. He's always treated me like shit. He's been on my case since the day that I got the job. I swear he's just been waiting for me to do one little thing to justify firing me. And the one time that I slip up, he finds out? Why didn't he understand, though? Doesn't he get that you and I are meant for each other? Any rational man would have understood. Anyone put in my situation would have done that. Right? I've been searching you up a lot lately. With no job, I have all the time in the world to spend learning about you. Do you know how much you can find out about someone with just their first name and town of residence? Found out that your last name's Merritt. What a beautiful name. Abby Merritt. I can't help but say it aloud whenever I think about you. I also found out that you're 24 and you only live a mile away from me. I drove down to your apartment complex today. It looks very nice. Much nicer than where I live. I asked to see you multiple times, but I was told that you weren't there every time. I felt more and more discouraged every time, but I was determined to see you again. After a few hours of asking, I decided to stay back in the parking lot for a while, waiting for you to come back. And after many hours of waiting, you did. It was late at night, around 10, I believe. I saw you pull up in your car and get out. I felt a sudden rush of warmth at seeing your face again. I know I have the security camera tape to look at, but it doesn't compare to seeing you in real life. I made sure to record it for later when I was at home, this time with a much higher quality camera. I wanted to capture as much detail as possible. I didn't know when the next time I was going to see you was, and the security tape wasn't enough for me anymore. I asked the woman at the front desk multiple times what your room number was, but she refused to tell me. She thought I was some sort of creep. See, Abby? These people don't understand us. They don't understand what we feel for each other. I ended up waiting in the parking lot for a little longer until someone came out. After talking to him for a bit, he told me what your apartment number was. He didn't want to talk at first, but I made him. You'd be surprised what you can make people tell you when you're holding a knife to their chest. Don't worry, I didn't hurt him too bad. But we can't have someone interfering with us. Don't you agree, Abby? I'm sick of all these people trying to keep us apart. I ended up watching you from the parking lot for a while. Once I found out your room number and how the rooms in the complex were organized, it wasn't hard to locate it. You should be more careful about shutting your blinds, you know. I was easily able to watch you from the parking lot. I can't get you out of my head anymore. Ever. All I do is watch the video I took of you over and over. Abby, I want to be with you for forever. I want to wake up in the morning to see you next to me in bed. I cannot wait until the next time I see you again. Love, Jay.